conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, as well as lower oil output, are forecast to have negative impact on the economic growth of the Middle East and North Africa in the new year 2024. The International Monetary Fund released its outlook for the MENA region on Wednesday, forecasting growth at 2.9%, and is expected to be hobbled by the war and oil output. Let's get more details on that from Jihad Azwar, the IMF director in charge of the Middle East and Central Asia Department, at yesterday's reports presentation.
The conflict in Gaza and Israel has sent shockwaves across the Middle East and North Africa. We are saddened by the loss of lives. In addition to its devastating impact, the conflict is having adverse economic consequences on the broader MENA region. It erupted at a time when growth was already slowing and the region was facing existing challenges. In particular, debt levels remain high and inflation has not yet been sufficiently brought down in many economies. Today, we are releasing a special update on the regional economic outlook to reflect these and other developments in the Middle East and North Africa. The 2024 growth projections for the MENA region were revised downward by 0.5 percentage point from our latest October forecast. We now project GDP to grow by 2.9% in 2024 from already weak growth of 2% in 2023. Various factors are weighing on activities. First, the conflict in Gaza and Israel. The IMF estimates that growth in West Bank Gaza contracted by about 6% in 2023, a downgrade of 9 percentage points from October's projections. Neighboring countries, Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan, also face challenging outlook. In addition, the heightened security situation in the Red Sea has raised new concerns about the conflict's impact on trade and on shipping costs. Second, oil production cuts by several oil exporters. These are weighing on overall GDP growth, while non-oil sector activity remains robust. And third, tight policy settings. Restrictive macro policies remain essential to bring down high debt and elevated inflation in certain countries. An encouraging development is that inflation has continued to decline in most MENA economies in line with global trends, except in some parts of the region due to country-specific challenges. Since last October, uncertainty and downside risks for the region's economy have increased sharply, with the duration of the conflict and scope of escalation still uncertain. The heightened security situation in the Red Sea highlights the ongoing unpredictability and could entail significant hit to shipping, regional trade, and possibly to internet connections. Should the conflict escalate, a more severe or persistent negative impact on tourism could materialize. Higher energy bill and borrowing costs from an unexpected tightening of regional financing conditions could also hold back growth. And fiscal spending could rise to support vulnerable households and displaced families, as well as to bolster security, particularly for economies close to the conflict. In terms of policy response, the appropriate policy response will depend on countries' exposure to the conflict, existing vulnerabilities, and policy space. Where the impact of the conflict is acute or risks are elevated, crisis management and precautionary policies will be critical. Elsewhere, countries will need to continue to fortify safeguards. Monetary policy will need to remain focused on price stability, and fiscal policy should be tailored to country-specific needs and available fiscal space. Structural reforms to boosting growth and strengthening resilience in both near and long terms remain critical. The fund is ready and committed to supporting the region. We are already providing policy advice, technical assistance, and financing to MENA countries to help buffer against shocks and ease any necessary adjustment. We have approved $26 billion in financing to the MENA region since early 2020. In Jordan, for example, a new 4 years extended fund facility was recently approved, unlocking $1.2 billion. More broadly, since the start of 2023, the IMF approved programs for Egypt, Mauritania, and Morocco. And Somalia's completion point under the HIPC initiative was also approved. The IMF has also increased its local presence in the region by reopening its Middle East Regional Technical Assistance Center in Beirut and setting up a new regional office in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This office will further strengthen the IMF engagement and partnership with the region.